Welcome to A Handful of Minutes. This is going to be a supplementary interview to go with this week's episode of webcomics. With me here, I have Ryan North. He likes cake, I like cake. We're going to make some cakes later, but you won't get to see that part, so just use your imagination. Now, Ryan's been doing dinosaur comics for a little over 5 years now. I figured he's worth interviewing. He's also got some other stuff on the go, which I'm going to ask some questions about as we carry on. But first, there are some questions which I've seen again and again and again in interviews with people who do webcomics, and Ryan in particular. And I know that a lot of you will probably have read them or seen them a lot, many times before. So I'm going to burn through these quickly for the benefit of those who are new to webcomics. Now, Ryan, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I want you to answer them as quickly as you can, in 3 words or less.
Sounds reasonable.
You ready? All right. Why dinosaurs?
I like dinosaurs.
Are webcomics the future?
Yes, sir.
How do you make money off of this?
Not easily.
How could I make money doing this?
Not easily.
Where do you get your ideas? Nobody could possibly have all those ideas. I mean, seriously.
From the bathtub.
What do your friends and family usually say when you first tell them that this is how you make a living?
I love you.
Do you feel that you've squandered your valuable first world education?
Yes.
What's it like being internet famous?
Pretty okay.
Do you like vaginas? Do you get a lot of babes?
Just the one.
How's that one babe working out for you?
Pretty okay.
Well, I guess we'll have to go with that. Okay, so now we've got that out of the way, we're going to go on to what I call the meaty questions. So, have you ever considered doing the occasional drawn comic? Richard Stevens of Diesel Sweeties, I've noticed, has once in a blue moon tossed in a little drawn effort just for a break from his usual pixelated computer style art. I've noticed that, I know your art skills maybe aren't something you're terribly proud of, because that's why you went with the whole conceit in the first place. Shame. But, why not?
Well, I mean, Rich can draw and is trained in illustration, and I have guest weeks occasionally where I invite other artists to do their own spin, and they usually draw it or do something interesting there, and I feel that sort of scratches that itch in a way that is competent, while my version would be incompetent.
That's true, but I mean, having bad art doesn't really stop most webcomic people. If writing's strong enough, right? I mean, it's KCD is just stick figures for the most part, and he makes a living.
Yeah, but they're better stick figures than I could do.
Oh, really?
And I don't feel like I should change it up for no reason. Like, the fact that it's drawn, it's different, but why is it drawn?
Well, that's fair enough.
If I had a reason, sure.
Well, I'd say it's variation or for kicks, surprise people.
Well, a reason better than for kicks.
Yeah. That's why you did everything in this. Okay, fair enough.
Pick up your hat, close up your flat, and get out and get under the moon.
What kind of obstacles do you figure webcomics have to overcome to obtain the same kind of mass public acceptance, such as film, television, or the daily funnies? Is that even desirable?
Well,
webcomics are not, they're not out there like extreme body piercing or lighting yourself on fire. But I mean, if you mention webcomics to some people, your odds of them going, "Oh yeah, that," are less than if you say, "Hey, if you said movie," So as far as I'm moving to a point where maybe they're just as broadly accepted and acknowledged by the public as say film or television.
Well, I think webcomics is a compound word, and people don't have a problem with the web part of it. A lot of people, you can say, "Hey, have you heard of CNN.com?" And they would say, "Yes, I have." It's the comics part. Comics have been in a cultural ghetto in North America for 50 years, longer. And there's a lot of reasons for that you can go back in history and see.
Well, like they're for kids, that's
yeah,
big
but they were castrated in the 50s with all the censorship. If you look at Japan and Europe, where there weren't the same witch hunts going on against comics, they have really good comics culture now. In Japan especially, I'd say manga is up there with movies and TV and this form of cultural impact, cultural juggernaut sort of thing. So, give us 50 years to overcome 50 years of preconception, and maybe...
So this is the gradual wearing down, you reckon? Just as more and more people get talking about it, that kind of thing?
Well, I mean,
stigma will go away?
I talked about CNN before, and that's like a popular website. In fact, it is not just like a website, it is a popular website.
Yeah.
And some of the more popular webcomics, Penny Arcade, XKCD, are approaching that sort of traffic.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll be faster than I would say.
So just a gradual, erosion, I guess, or building.
Yeah, I feel like the content's
good.
I feel like the content's good. People will come to it once they're aware of it. It takes time.
Kissing and talk again, oh joy, sweethearts are all in tune.
What kind of advice would you give someone who's fresh to webcomics and wants to try and find quality stuff amongst the ocean of crap, other than go to your website? Because that's one thing where I find I try and recommend it to friends, and they'll just be like, oh, but there's just so many, and how do I, because it's a whole double-edged sword, right? If anybody can do it because it's on the web, but anybody can do it. And so I find one of the biggest obstacles that I have getting friends to try stuff out is they'll say, oh, well, it's just there's so many, how would I even know, kind of deal.
I mean, that same argument applies to websites. There's trillions of websites, and
and yet people don't usually make that. Yeah, exactly. And yet people don't usually make that argument. It's very strange.
Well, I think
web
a website's bad. It's sort of funny because bad websites are usually pretty crappy, but a bad webcomic can just be really depressing, and it sort of has this taint of
somebody's earnest efforts which would produce nothing of value.
Yeah, just frustrated expectations that will never be met.
Especially when they're kind of clamoring for fame. I've noticed you get somebody who their track record probably isn't that high, but they're saying, oh, well, hey, donate money and help me keep the comic going. And
well, there's ways to run a comic. I mean, there's different ways to do it. But I mean, to answer your question, if I were you and you had a friend who wanted to, you wanted to read webcomics, give them one do you think you'd like, gateway, and then say, look at the links page, because most of us have links pages with stuff that we like. So it's sort of, if you like this, you'll also like this. Yeah. And I think all the comics I like too are pretty awesome. And people should read them.
Well, that's fair.
A lot of them are better than mine.
Oh, that's true. Some humility here from Ryan North.
It's actually really good comics. There's some really good comics on them.
No, that's true, actually. I remember that when you got me into webcomics years ago when you started Dinosaur Comics, that was a part of how I leapt across to other things like Scary Go Round and Diesel Sweeties and so on, questionable content. But another obstacle I found with trying to get people into webcomics too that I find is a bit strange is how sometimes people interpret it, this is only maybe the last 6 months to a year as we've gone all with 3CPO or whatever it's called, with applications like Twitter and Facebook and blah blah, the stuff where people feel like it's something they have to maintain and cultivate, like a chia pet or a skin disorder. With webcomics, I find that sometimes I'll say, oh, well, you should try out Dinosaur Comics, you should try out Aquid, you should try out this. And they'll say, oh god, is there something else to keep up with though? And I mean, and it's just this kind of weird web fatigue. Yeah. What would you suggest for getting people past that?
If they're fatigued, they gotta stop.
Just tell them to give a friggin' break about that. Yeah, basically.
I mean, after you've read a book for 20 hours, you want to read another book.
Yeah.
So, if they're getting everything online without reading...
It's just, as I say, it's strange that you get that conflation, because I mean, webcomics, you generally, I don't think I've seen one that does this, have to sign up for an account and then come back to it to upload, put in your personal information for the 18th time and pray that it's not used for advertising.
Mark who your friends are.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
so, but still, people can make that, yeah. I don't know, I wish, I think you should be able to fight that kind of ignorance, but I don't know, it's like a revolution. So, okay. Now, coming back to the whole traffic thing, right, in the Penny Arcade and how some people are booking already big phenomenons, right? I noticed you always like to have a little something extra going on in addition to the daily comic, like your Hey Look at Flickr tagging experiment, trying to get people to look at, anything with a Hey Look at tag, it's awesome stuff, no other qualification unless I'm missing something other than it's awesome. Of course, your Project Wonderful Web Advertising Company, or I like particularly trying to get as many of your readers as possible to use their computers to help cure AIDS or cancer in their spare time, more or less when they're not, they're running idle.
It's 3D computing.
Yeah, it's 3D computing. Thanks.